Friends, welcome to my channel. So, have you ever wanted the simplicity of AWS Lambda, but wish it could remember all your information between the requests, stay running for longer, and provide you strong isolation? AWS has introduced something completely new that is known as AWS Lambda MicroVMs. So, basically, they are built on the Firecracker, the same lightweight virtualization technology that powers Lambda, but now AWS give you much more control over the life cycle of an isolated execution environment. So, in this video, I'll be showcasing you a demo how we can utilize this AWS Lambda micro VMs and why we're being this built and how they differ from a traditional AWS Lambda. And most importantly, like a small example I have created, so useful. So before we start, let's have a quick overview of this AWS Lambda micro VMs. Let me switch to the AWS. So you can see over here. So when we create a traditional Lambda, that is excellent for the APIs, event processing, and even the background jobs. But it follows like event-driven execution model. When a request arrives, AWS starts your function, executes, return you the response, and then the execution environment may be reused or eventually recycled. Because of that, AWS recommends that your application should never depend on memory between invocations. So if your application needs some persistent data, so we store it in either in a DynamoDB or Redis or S3 or any other database. Now, this is okay, like when we want to utilize like any application that is depending on a memory between invocations. So we can utilize this DynamoDB, Redis, and S3. But think about like a modern workloads like AI agents, online IDEs, code execution platforms, browser automations, as well as some interactive development environments. So basically, these applications often benefit from being keeping temporary state in memory during a user session while still needing strong isolation. So this is exactly the Lambda micro VMs are useful. So it exactly fits into that particular use case. So it is also extremely lightweight virtual machine. So instead of giving full EC2 instance, so AWS launches a tiny Firecracker virtual machine. So instead of giving you a full EC2 instance, AWS launches a tiny Firecracker virtual machine. Each micro VM has its own isolated environment, and click over here, and it gives you your own file system, its own process space. So basically, it's giving you every user a own tiny secure computer that starts quickly and does not require you to manage any servers, unlike EC2. So AWS still handles all the infrastructure. You simply deploy your application, and that's it. So, but basically the workflow is slightly different from a traditional Lambda. So instead of we uploading a zip file directly to the Lambda, we package our application here into a Docker file, and then on the base image, that is the Amazon Linux 2, on the top of it, we create a micro VM image. So basically, AWS combines our application with an AWS managed Lambda micro VM base image and then creates a snapshot of that configured environment. Then we can launch a micro VM, which makes startup much more faster. So we will be having a dedicated HTTPS endpoint to access those running micro VMs. So in this particular video demo, I'll be showcasing a simple Node.js API. So that stores like a counter. So every time we hit it, increases the counter by 1, even though the VM is being terminated or not terminated, or suspended. Again, when I restart it, it will again, the counter starts from the place where we left it out. So here, uh, let me showcase you what I have in uh, the zip file, the base image. So you can see over here, I have app.js that, as I mentioned to you, it is image like that I will be creating. So this is a minimal like a counter that will be useful to demonstrate you the temporary in-memory state, and it is listening on port 8080. Then we have over here a image that is being created on the top of it along with your base image, and then it will run your micro VM. So this one I have to zip it down and put it in some S3 bucket, and then we can run our base image on the top of an existing AWS Linux image. So let me go to the interface over here so I can give you a more clear picture over here. So when we click on this create new micro VM image, let me put it over here, demo micro VM. And you can see over here, base micro VM image, it is Amazon Linux 2023 1. And here is the location. So in my this S3 bucket, I have already uploaded. I will do one thing, I will share these files with you so you can utilize this. Okay, so let me go into my bucket over here. And in this, I have kept a zip file over here that contains all those files. Choose. Then let it create a default role and then click create. It will take some time to create. Okay, so already I have it over here. Let me make it as 2. So you can see over here. So I already have existing one. That's how you have to create your micro VM. So I'll just showcase you the existing one. Okay, it's not there. I think something wrong with it. Okay, it will take some time. And so you can see over here, the micro VM has been created. So let's click over here. I need to run it down. Let me click run. So you can see over here, it is providing us an endpoint, but when I paste it over here, the endpoint, it will give me required request missing token. So we need to generate authentication token from the console. So every request will be having its own authentication token. So you can see over here, now our micro VM is running over here. So you can see over here. And when we go inside it, this is the endpoint, HTTP endpoint. Now, if you click create token over here, so add the port, let me put it over here, 8080 port. So 30 minutes, it will expire. So let's create. So the token has been copied to the clipboard. Let me put it over here. So this is our token. Oops, I think I messed up something. Okay, so this is our token over here that we got it. Now, there is a way to get a token. We can execute like this, AWS Lambda create, or from the UI, you can also click and it will automatically get copied to your clipboard. Now, we have to use this token in order to call this particular endpoint that I already shown you. So let me copy paste the token, and we need to change the endpoint. Let me copy this, and here, okay. So the port we had, so I will just execute in my CMT. It's already open over here. I was testing something before. So paste, enter. So you can see over here, we got the counter 1 over here. So this is the response that we get from here. Now, if we call it again, the same endpoint again, so we get counter 2. So you can see, and this is a message that is coming up from our endpoint that we have already, the MicroVM endpoint, when we're hitting that with the token, and this is the message that we have, that we already have it in our code over here. If you see over here in the app.js file that we have. Okay, so now if I hit the third time, it will give me the counter. Now here, the interesting thing that you need to notice over here, you can see the session ID. This is same. This is same. So the session ID has not changed. The application start time has not changed. You can see. And so this means like we are still talking to the same running VM. So this is the key capability that we miss out in the normal AWS Lambda. So basically our application is preserving the temporary in-memory state during its session. So like what does like a stateful really mean, like, because we say stateful and immediately think the data is stored forever. So that's not what it means. So stateful simply means the running micro VM can preserve its temporary memory and local execution state while it remains active or suspended. Now, even though if I suspend this, right, if I come back again, if I go over here my micro VM, so I can take an action over here. If I suspend this, okay, so it's suspended. I can resume again. So let's see what we get it over here. Now we go to here. Oops, let me copy the command again. I hope our token is valid, otherwise we have to create a token again. So you can see over here, counter 3 and same start time, same session. Okay, so even though I have suspended, so nothing happened. It continued from the same. So unlike it's like if the micro VM is terminated, then definitely the memory disappears. Like not like the permanent storage like a DynamoDB or S3 or RDS or any EFS. So it is like something like you copied and closed your laptop or shut in your laptop. It's gone. If you just put it in the sleep or hibernation, you come back, it stays there. So or even like your browser tabs are still open when you wake it up. So this is something but if you completely reinstall the operating system, everything in the memory is gone. So if I terminate it and again restart it, so again I basically run it, the micro VM, I won't be getting the same session or the counter and all those things. So this is what, like, whenever we have this, like, we can use the same session ID, and even though the application didn't restart it, so the counter keep on increasing. So this is like quite interesting, and it's quite useful for like interactive workloads, because user does not lose their basically their temporary session state every time they become idle. So, so where actually you can utilize this basically. So AI coding assistants like that execute generated code, online programming. So we can have some online programming labs or some browser automation, some security sandboxes or multi-tenant SaaS platforms, some long-running AI agents, lots of things like you can do wherever along with this, not only there's the sessions, wherever you need some isolation, some temporary state, and some serverless operations. So the big question that comes in your mind is that shall we replace the Lambda? No. So traditional Lambda remains the best choice for the APIs and event processing and short-lived serverless functions. Lambda MicroVMs solve a different problem. So they are designed for like isolation, they are designed for stateful, interactive workloads that benefit from the lifecycle control. Even though you are suspending or resuming, it continues from there. So instead of replacing Lambda, so it has like basically it has expanded this Lambda to a serverless toolbox that we can utilize for statefulness as well as the sessions and all. So do give a try to it and do let me know. Do give a try to this AWS Lambda Micro VMs. I'll be uploading to this the demo, the zip file that I utilize as a image in order to execute this demo. So you can also utilize the same in order to spin up your micro VM. So I think this is like one of the most exciting AWS launches this year. So basically, it's basically opening the door for a whole new category of serverless applications. So thanks for watching. I hope you like the video. See you in the next video.